Hello, everybody, and welcome to our partner showcase, Discover VR Cardinal LE. As you're making your way in today, I've gone ahead and launched a poll so that we can learn a little bit more about you guys, where you're coming from, what your occupation is, and how you heard a little bit about this webinar today. So take a brief couple of seconds and answer our poll so that our esteemed speakers can know a little bit more about you.
Been a long time since somebody has called me esteemed, Amanda. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I always try to, hype you up.
Esteemed. I'm esteemed.
Yes. So, I mean, why not? And I'll keep it launched for about a minute, and then we'll go over some of the ground rules for the webinar today so that you guys know how to interact in our webinar, and we know best how to interact with you guys as well. And then I'll tell a little bit about you guys to our speakers, and they'll be able to kind of tailor their webinar a little bit more to meet your needs. Alrighty, I'm going to just end this poll, and we'll have a couple of more. So if you missed this poll, it's totally fine. There will be a little bit more throughout the webinar that you can interact with us with. So just going a little bit over some of the poll results. We have some vision rehabilitation specialists and assistive technology specialists, as well as paraprofessionals and some other occupations who are joining us today. We have some people joining us from the southeast of the US, Southwest, and Midwest. And of course, we have one person from a European country here. So welcome. We're excited to have you in our webinar. And a lot of people found out about the webinar either through the email from APH or from a friend or colleague. So we are so excited to have you today. We're going to go over some of the ground rules of this webinar. Some of the ground rules and housekeeping items just before we get started with our speakers is that if you have any questions or any comments, please type them into the chat. There will be no ACV REP credits for this partner showcase, and we will also have closed captioning available. All right, so we're going to go into the introduction of some of our speakers today. So first off is Lee Huffman. He is a low vision product manager for product development at the American Printing House for the Blind. He holds a bachelor's degree in communication studies, and he has 20 years experience in the blindness field evaluating mainstream and access technology. Lydia Smith is our next speaker. She is a product engagement manager at APH. Lydia works closely with our product development team to build awareness of our work and mission in the field of blindness and low vision. Lydia also holds a BSBA in marketing from The Ohio State University and previously worked on APH's product development team for over 2 years before transitioning into product engagement. And of course, we have our friends at HumanWare here. Peter Tusick is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at HumanWare. He works closely with key organizations throughout the field of vision loss at both local and national levels relating to their optimal use of HumanWare's blindness assistive technology. Peter graduated from the University of Illinois at Chicago with a Bachelor of Arts degree in history. In addition to consistently presenting at several annual conferences, Peter has also been published in Closing the Gap magazine and regularly creates written and video tutorials for a wide array of HumanWare blindness products. And last but not least, we have Matthew. So Matthew Paquette is a product manager at HumanWare, specializing in audio assistant and GPS products. With a deep understanding of assistive technology, Matthew is recognized for being an active and responsive leader within the blindness community. Prior to his current role, he worked in HumanWare's technical support department, where he gained a valuable hands-on experience. So we're so excited to have them today, and I'm just going to hand it off to them and let them get started.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And this is Peter Tusick. And for those of you who sometimes have to struggle through the visual of my appearance on camera, you won't have to do that for this particular partner showcase because my webcam is not working. So this is going to be a radio show with Peter Tusick. Don't worry, the slides will still run. So there will be the visual accompaniment for those of you who are light dependent. But I certainly next time maybe will be on camera. I'm absolutely fired up to be here. In not only to talk about the Cardinal, but also just to field any questions, or to kind of explain a bit about why this product and how this product fits into not only the classrooms, but in lots of other use cases, and for those of us who are blind. In terms of the agenda, we're going to kind of touch on the general overview. What is the Cardinal? What is the product? What is it? It's kind of a Swiss Army knife in a sense. It kind of encompasses a couple of broad categories of users. We're going to talk about the orientation bookshelf or mode. We'll talk about the online bookshelves or mode, and we'll talk about the offline piece. And then I will do a bit of demonstration in terms of some basic navigation and also where we go to connect to Wi-Fi and kind of get into some of the menus and how we're able to enter text. So in terms of the general overview, in terms of what the product is, at its core, the Cardinal is a GPS device. It is a standalone product that is designed for somebody who is blind or visually impaired as they travel. And this is not to say that we don't use iPhones or smartphone navigation or other GPS devices. I certainly use them. Many of us out there who are blind or visually impaired do, in addition to all of you out there using your phones. It's not like you're going to use a Garmin or something. But the point of this is the Cardinal allows us to have tailored instruction for any sort of traveling environment, getting real-time information about our surroundings, and the types of intersections we're coming up to, the address ranges, being able to drop landmarks and do all these things, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the whole point is that it is a push button device. We know that the use of a smartphone app while traveling can be a struggle. And that's not, I mean, even the most seasoned user, even for someone like me who uses all sorts of technologies, I do at times prefer to have a single push button device, especially if I have my daughter on my back, or my son on my back, or I'm walking with a cane and I don't want to hold my phone in one hand. Certainly menu driven, very simple. We believe in simple, intuitive user experience. We want to design products that are very linear in terms of their sort of menu structure. They're not complicated. So it is a menu driven device, standalone GPS, but it is also capable of connecting to Wi-Fi, not only to download and manage the maps of the states or the countries you may visit, so that you have that data when you're walking around outside, but it is also a book player. It allows you to access connected or online libraries that are specialized for the print disabled. So for someone with visual impairments to be able to read books from places like Bookshare or NLS Bard here in the States. There are also DAISY online services and ways to read lots of other content in an audio or auditory way. You can access more audio content through Wikipedia or Wiktionary. You can also access streaming content. So think of podcasts, you think of internet radio stations. So when we talk about the Cardinal, it is really an audio consumption device in addition to it being a standalone GPS product. When you talk about content, of course, the audio is big, but even files that you may come across in the classroom or in your workplace, things, BRF files, DOCX files, DAISY files, MP3 files, and so on. So lots of mainstream file types are supported in addition to having those, DAISY protected books, DAISY audiobooks from NLS Bard, for instance. There are lots of other types of content you can put on the device using a computer that maybe you can't download direct, but you can put on via an SD card and actually consumer read all sorts of content. You're also able to use the device to record audio notes. And this, in addition to the online or that audio consumption piece, becomes very important. You are able to have push button recording. Again, this is not a mixer. It's not a recording powerhouse. It's meant to quickly take note of something, a recipe, a phone number, some instructions that you may need to refer to later. Maybe you're recording a quick demonstration of a product, or of a teacher going over something with you. It is meant for that as well. So it does have one-touch audio recording. You can move between, and we'll get into this in a brief demonstration, but you can move between the different modes, so offline, online, or orientation, by pressing the circular button above the number 2. So the device has a numeric keypad, and above that numeric keypad, you have a square, circle, and diamond shaped button from left to right that will have some unique functionalities. In the middle, or circular button above the number 2 moves us between these 3 core modes of the device: orientation, which is your GPS; offline, which is the things that are on your SD card; and online, which are your connected services, your NLS Bard, internet radio, podcast sort of areas. The device also has Bluetooth, so you are able to connect to an external speaker, or you're able to connect to a headset, a Bluetooth headset. And certainly when we travel, we strongly discourage you from wearing headphones when you travel. You would probably want to use some sort of open ear headphones, or maybe a small wearable Bluetooth speaker or something that would keep your ears open. Certainly, there are lots of options for open ear headphones today, but keep that in mind. You can access at any point the key describer on the device by holding down 0, so that you can find out what keys do without actually impacting your device. So it's a mode, and anyone who's ever attended a Peter presentation, you hear me talk about keyboard learn, or voice over practice, or all these different modes that allow you to push a button and hear what it does without that button actually doing what it says it does. So if you press and hold 0, you can enter key describer mode, and you'll be able to quickly push, let's say, the square button, and that will say that that is the go-to button, and you can use it to go to a bookmark that you've placed in a book, or go to a landmark that you have recorded for yourself. In terms of orientation, so as we come to this slide, and again, this is the sort of the core pillars of orientation mode. And why does a standalone GPS product matter? What sets it apart or makes it different from an existing application, or the apps that are, the pieces of technology that I have, like my smartphone, there I can download all sorts of apps. And there are many great apps out there, but a lot of times what this comes down to is immediate offline access. So when you're walking around, you're not requiring a data connection. You're not burning the battery on your phone. For anybody who has used Waze or any GPS app, you know the amount of battery those require. Those apps certainly do very much pull from the capabilities of your phone. So by the time you get on the bus or you get to where you need to be, you've definitely burned quite a bit of battery if you're actively using the GPS apps. The device allows you to put Here Maps, which is the Here, Here, is the company that makes the maps that we use on our on the GPS products. So the Cardinal is using Here Maps, and these are used in autonomous vehicle research. They're modern maps. They are absolutely comparable and exist in parallel to things like Google Maps. In fact, there are some tables I've seen where they score above Google Maps in some cases, or slightly below in some cases. They're very much neck and neck, and that's why companies like Audi or Ford or others are using Here Maps, on autonomous vehicle research, in autonomous vehicle development. So we're using Here Maps. All of the United States and Puerto Rico, you can put the entirety of the country on the Victor Reader track. On the Cardinal. They will all fit, and you will be able to put all of those maps on the device for offline access. Where this is important is, if back in the day, if you were going from Texas to Michigan to New York, and maybe you had a relative who lived in California, you may have to separately manage those maps, because they are stored on the device. And when you connect to the satellites, it's going to tell you what state you're in. Now we were able to compress and have these same high quality maps that all fit on one device, even though they're offline. So you do download them once, or you move them onto the device through an SD card, and you're able to have on your Cardinal the entire United States. Or if you go to other countries, you can certainly download those maps as well. Canada, countries in Europe, countries in the Middle East, countries in Africa, Australia. All there are about 100, somewhere in the mid 90s, I believe, Matthew, right? Something like 90-ish, 93 plus countries that
Yeah,
we
about
currently
that.
have available, I believe. So
Yep.
we don't have all 200 and something countries in the world, but we're close. And certainly we continue to assess what packages and whatnot that we can have available, that are available through Here Maps, that will be up to our standards. The biggest piece here on the Cardinal, there are two things that really will set this apart from what we do and what we have on an iPhone in terms of actually walking around. Firstly, we are able to virtually browse maps. You can offline, you can sit on your couch, you can walk around your neighborhood, you can get the lay of the land in terms of the street grid without actually leaving your home. You can not only hear what streets you're encountering as you move forward or turn right or turn left or turn around and walk the other way. Every intersection is spoken, the type of intersection, and you can virtually peruse or browse areas before you walk them. And that is a huge advantage because it allows you to develop better environmental literacy, so that by the time you do leave your school building or you do leave your house, you know exactly kind of what street you might encounter next when you turn left, and you walk to that first intersection. What is it going to be? And the way this works is every time you use your 2, your 6, your 8, or your 4 keys, think of that 2 is up on the numeric keypad, 6 is right, 8 is down, 4 would be left. You are able to turn and walk, and the next intersection is spoken every single key press. So as you walk forward, you're going to be moving street by street by street and learning what those streets are. You also have the ability on the device to drop what are called landmarks. And landmarks are personal, think of the breadcrumbs that you are dropping to indicate maybe the entrance to a strip mall. Maybe you're dropping one in front of your home. Maybe you are putting one at the, in the middle of your college campus or something. These are user-defined points of interest. They're not businesses, which are certainly available. You can pull up points of interest like Starbucks and McDonald's and things. But more importantly, these all allow you to set personal landmarks, and you can then use them as you walk around. They will be spoken when you near that landmark, or you can set them as a destination to be guided to through either turn-by-turn directions in vehicle or pedestrian mode. So you are able to drop these landmarks. And I put in here swings. And the reason why I put swings in here is we also have open area mode on the device. So sometimes you may find yourself in a large park or playground or college campus or somewhere where you don't have streets. You're not going to get street turn-by-turn instructions because you're not technically on a street. And the beauty of the Cardinal is it will allow you to drop, even in those open areas, to drop landmarks and be guided as the crow flies. So you'll get a distance measurement with your sort of clock face directions to find that space. So if I drop a landmark at the playground slide and I'm 100 feet away coming out of the building, I will be guided to the vicinity of that slide or of those swings. Keep in mind the accuracy is usually going to be within about 25-ish feet. So think of that landmark as a circumference. You're not going to get pinpoint accuracy, not in this country. GPS is not designed to get you down to the millimeter. The military has access to some of that, but we do not as consumers. So you're not getting down to the point where you can kind of bump your shins on the bench that you've dropped a landmark on, but you certainly are going to get to within its vicinity where you would then use your cane or your travel skills to locate that object that you have landmarked. We also have the ability to record routes, and this allows you, it's very different from turn-by-turn instructions. So the Cardinal will allow you to, as you walk a route, you can record all of your movements. And maybe there's a very busy intersection that you're not comfortable with crossing. Maybe you're newer to vision loss, or you're just kind of working on this and you want to take the same L-shaped route every day that the routing sort of engine doesn't bring you to if you just select turn-by-turn instructions. What this does is it allows you to record that route and walk that same route that you walked with an instructor. You can recall that and walk it every single day or backtrack it to get back to your starting point. And this is very helpful, especially for those who are new to GPS technology. Again, we don't use this as the only tool. We're using this GPS device, we're using the Cardinal to augment our existing orientation and mobility skills. Our first and foremost skill set is our cane skills, our listening skills, you're using our dog, we're using our orientation mobility skill that we've learned over time. The GPS is enhancing or augmenting those skills. And maybe we're using it when we're in the car so that we actually know what we're passing instead of just kind of being an oblivious passenger. So you do have turn-by-turn instructions as well that will actually use the maps or the routing engine to prompt you with turn right here, walk straight 3 blocks, turn left here, and so on. Or if you're in a vehicle, we'll kind of give you the next key points or turns or items. It's not going to tell you every single street you're crossing, whereas in pedestrian mode, turn-by-turn instructions are telling you every single time you get to a street what you should be doing at that next intersection. Talk about the open area mode. The other piece to mention here is that you are able to query and search for points of interest. So if you wanted to, you could search for Best Buy, or you could search for that business and then receive turn-by-turn instructions to be guided to it. The other key piece here of this product is it does give you specific intersection descriptions. Is it a three-way? And what street is crossing what street? Is it a four-way? Is there, something I need to be aware of here? And sometimes a lot of, especially when we talk about three-way intersections, you'll be walking on a street and you won't even know that there is a street across from you that tees with the street you're currently on, unless you were walking on that side of the street. And what I like about using the Cardinal is it allows you to, as you're walking, learn about some of those streets and say, oh, wow, across the street, there is a street that forms a T with the road that I'm currently on. And I didn't even know that because I've never walked on that side of the street. So it can be very helpful, again, in terms of building that environmental literacy and taking that to the next level. All right, it's time for a poll question. Amanda, do you want to read the poll?
Sure. So I've launched the poll for all of you guys, but I'm going to read it as well. The first poll question is, how many state maps will fit on the VR Cardinal LE? A, only the Northeast, B, up to 2 map regions, C, the entire United States, or D, 35 states. And I will go ahead and give you guys a little bit of time to answer the poll question, and then we will let Peter tell us what the right answer is once we go over the results from the poll.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
I certainly do know the answer. But yeah, it's nothing like a good poll question. And I guess once you're ready, you can close it and we can talk about it. I did mention it. I did specifically mention this answer. It's not a trick question. I know sometimes I've been known for making poll questions that have nothing to do with the presentation that I'm giving. This is not one of those.
Yeah, Peter's quite the trickster if you meet him in person, but
Sometimes.
I don't think that this poll question is meant to trick you. All right, I'm going to close the poll right now, and then I will reread the question and go over the results. So, how many state maps will fit on the VR Cardinal LE? A was only the Northeast, which nobody selected. B was up to 2 map regions, which nobody selected. C was the entire United States, which 90% of the people said was the answer. And D was 35 states, which was also selected by somebody. Peter?
So the correct answer is C, as in correct answer. So all of the maps, all of the states in the United States, all 50 states and Puerto Rico will fit on the device. You are going to be able to get them on. And usually, again, you probably wouldn't do this unless you absolutely needed to. But if you really wanted to, you could. Generally, I will have the region that I'm in and maybe something else if I have some upcoming travel. But certainly, if you wanted to virtually explore, you know, let's see, Athens, Georgia, you could do that by downloading that package and exploring it and kind of sitting on your couch in, I don't know, Boston, Massachusetts, which would be a different map package. So you could put a few different packages on, and while you are browsing the maps, if you're looking for what states are in what packages, they are all announced. So it will say something like Midwest, and then it will say all the states contained in the Midwest package. So each package contains multiple states.
Nice.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda. Now
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the online bookshelves. And this is really, again, where we talk about our connected services. Our online services, our audio, kind of think of that sort of connected audio listening experience. And we talk about this in a couple of different services. So firstly, we can move between. So when we use that circular button above the number 2 to move between offline, online, and orientation. When we get into our online bookshelves, each individual service is its own bookshelf. So to move between NLS Bard to NFB Newsline to Bookshare or to Internet Radio, we'll use the number 1 key. The number 1 key cycles you through your bookshelves on, in the mode that you're in. So in online mode, once I'm there, the number 1, key 1, will move me between all of the bookshelves that I have present. And it's like a hamster wheel. You will go all the way around. If you press it and press it and press it, you will continuously go through your different services. You will just keep going around and around. It's not an up and down menu. The bookshelves it's like a carousel. So every time you press the number 1, you will pull up a new bookshelf and they will just keep going around and around. You are able to directly download onto the device through Wi-Fi from NFB Newsline. And again, this is very much, we're talking North America here. This is very much a North American centric webinar. So there are DAISY online services, but we don't include those because there's a wide variety of them for our global users. From the lens of North America and the APH side of things with the Cardinal, when we look at this, the services we can download directly from are NFB Newsline, which is your newspaper service. You can download directly from NLS Bard, which is your National Library Service, Braille audio reading download service. And you can also download, in addition, directly from Bookshare. So having your Bookshare books and being able to download from there as well. So again, 3 services you can download from via Wi-Fi. You need to be connected to Wi-Fi. There's no no data chip on a product like the Cardinal, but downloading directly to the device is capable from those libraries. That is by no means limiting you to the content. You can certainly read books from even places like Audible or other services, but you're not going to download those books directly onto the device. You enable these services through the menus, and I put in here a key 7. So the number 7 key will always bring you into your menus, and each time you push the number 7, you will be brought into a different menu. So when you're on or in this online mode, when you're looking at your online bookshelves, you're able to press 7 and it will bring you through, and you will eventually hear that there is an NFB Newsline menu where you can put in your credentials, or an NLS Bard menu where you can put in your credentials, and so on. If you don't put those credentials in, so let's say you do not have a Bookshare subscription, you will not have a Bookshare bookshelf on your online bookshelves. The bookshelf will not show up because there is no account added associated with Bookshare. So you're not going to waste your time every time you're pressing the number 1 to go to an empty bookshelf because you have not added that service. So keep that in mind. You navigate through your books, through your menus, through your device with the arrow keys of 4 and 6 to move left and right. And we did put a tactile marking on those keys, and 2 and 8 to move up and down respectively. So again, 4 is left, 6 is right. Think of your numerical keypad. 2 is up, 8 is down. And there are tactile markings that will help guide you, to help you feel that they are left, right, up, down. Your 5 or middle key is your info sort of key that will give you information as to what you are reading. The other piece to keep in mind here, when you're connected to online, you have 32 gigabytes of internal storage. You're able to save content. Your maps are saved internally. This content that is internal from your online bookshelves is downloaded directly to the device. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another poll question. Amanda, I'm going to throw it over to you for the poll.
Awesome. So I've gone ahead and launched the poll already, but I will read it to all of you guys. What online services can books or newspapers be downloaded from directly on the VR Cardinal LE? A is Bookshare and Audible. B is Bookshare, NLS Bard, and NFB Newsline. C is NLS and NFB Newsline. And D is NFB Newsline and Audible. And I'll give you guys just a minute to go ahead and enter in those results and we'll go over them. I know, Peter made this one a little bit more tricky.
A little tricky. You never know what sneaks into these answers. Every now and then I think about putting just random words in, like cheetah, for instance, and things like that. But here again, I steered clear of some of those games and I kept it very very book service oriented, but there's a lot here. So if someone gets confused, it's okay. We'll straighten it out when we get to the answer.
We indeed sure will. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And we'll go over the results. So again, what online services can books or newspapers be downloaded from directly on the VR Cardinal LE? And A was Bookshare and Audible, which about 14% of people said was correct. B was Bookshare, NLS Bard, and NFB Newsline. which 86% of people said was correct. And
Well,
uh,
that leaves nobody for the other answers. My
exactly.
quick math determines that nobody answered C or D, right?
Absolutely. Nobody answered the other
Wow.
two.
Well, it is B. So 86% of you have had selected B. And for those of you who did choose A, Audible books can be played on a Cardinal. They will play, but you have to use there's a process to get them to play. It's not like you can download directly from Audible. There is no third-party device existing in today's world that will allow you to download directly from Audible. And I love Audible, and I wish there was a way to download directly from Audible, Matthew.
Yep.
But as the product manager, Matthew has certainly been involved in lots of discussions to try to work with Audible in many different ways. But for now, it is something that you have to use a separate tool for. So the correct answer here is B, to download directly the services that are supported: Bookshare, NFB Newsline, and NLS Bard. All right. Moving on. Don't worry, my radio hour is almost done. But first, we'll talk a bit about the offline bookshelves here. Again, this the offline bookshelves are really all of the content that will live on your SD card. So the Cardinal has an SD card slot. It will take we recommend 32 gigabyte SD cards. Matthew, what is the biggest SD card somebody has put into a Cardinal that you know of?
I've seen some people get away with 256, but as Peter mentioned, the Cardinal will only detect FAT32 file systems. If I want to get a bit technical here, and FAT32 above 32 gigs can be a little bit iffy, and that's also a very technical term. So yeah, so we recommend sticking to 32 gig cards, which are plenty for books and various content. You can fit quite a few books on a 32 gig card. But I mean, if you do have a 100 laying around and you want to try it, I mean, it's certainly, doesn't hurt to at least try. And if it works, then good for you.
Yeah, and FAT32 is the key, and that's simply a architecture of files is what that refers to. It's a type of file system.
Correct.
When you buy an SD card, you can hear things like HC and SC and NTFS and exFAT, and there's lots of different systems. The bottom line here is a FAT32 structure is what's going to work, and 32 gigabytes is really what we recommend. Certainly go higher at your own risk is what I tend to say. On this offline bookshelf, so the content you put in your SD cards does also go into bookshelves, and so you'll have if you have NFB Newsline newspapers, or you have NLS Bard books, or you have other content, they will be in bookshelves like other books or talking books or notes. This is where your audio notes are saved. And you will move through those bookshelves again by pressing the number 1 key. What is very important is that if you're moving content onto a Cardinal, you want to put that content in the appropriate bookshelf, so in the appropriate folder. So when you look at your Cardinal's SD card, you will see things that have a dollar sign, and then they say VR, which stands for Victor Reader, and then you'll see things like DTB, which is Digital Talking Books, or Notes, which was where your notes will live, believe it or not. But you will have these folders, and it's important to put the proper content in the right folder. And again, this gets into a very technical side, but it's important to know, because if you're just trying to move an MP3 file over, you can't put that in the DTB folder or it won't play. You have to put it in the $VR music folder, for instance. So it is something to keep in mind that I'll mention here. You're also able, so again, in your menus, the offline bookshelf contains a lot of more device kind of playback settings, recording settings, time jump settings. It's, as you use your menus in your offline bookshelf, you're really dealing with what happens when you're listening to books, what's happening when you're entering text, what's happening when you're recording. So it's more of a device sort of menu. Whereas on your online bookshelves, you're dealing with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of those connected services. So this is more, what are your offline settings going to be, and how books play and how content behaves when you're interacting with it. You can also copy information from your, online bookshelf over to your SD card. So, and a question just came into the chat that I will answer in rhythm here, because let's say you have a podcast, and you can, yes, download podcasts directly through the podcast service on the Cardinal. They will show up in your online bookshelves under podcasts. And if there's a podcast episode that you really, really want to save, because maybe they talked about how to get rid of those gophers that are eating your tomatoes or eating your, I don't know what, in your garden where you're growing your lovely forsythia bushes. What you can do is, if there's an episode you want, or a book you want, or something you want to save from online over to SD card, you can use your 3 key and copy content from that you have downloaded onto your offline bookshelf or onto your SD card. So you can take things that have been downloaded to your online bookshelf and copy them over. And that's very important because it allows you to save a podcast or save a book that you have downloaded directly to the player. So to answer your question directly there, Ashley, yes, you can download podcasts directly to the device. But not only can you download them, you can copy them over to an SD card if there are episodes that you want to save for future reference. Otherwise, those episodes in typical pod catching, we've all had a podcast we like, and then it kind of vanishes and we have to go dig back through the archives to find it, because generally what happens is with pod catchers, they will download the latest 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, and you have to then manually save the ones you may want. So in terms of, again, the offline area really is going to be kind of giving us that sense, of all of the things that go onto our SD card and whatnot. That is going to lead me to our final poll question before I do a very brief demonstration and we take a couple of questions if there are any. Amanda, what is the final poll question?
All right, so the final poll question is a yes or no question. It is, does the VR Cardinal LE support offline map browsing? Yes or no?
Man, offline map browsing. A great yes or no question. I ask myself lots of yes or no questions. Actually, I have 2 very young children. There are a lot of yes or no questions in my house that happen a lot.
Oh,
And
man.
apparently you're around 2 years old. There's a lot of no answers as well.
A lot of no's. We have a lot of no's in this house. We also have a lot of why questions, but we
I was
didn't put any why questions in the polls. I thought about it.
It's better not to have why questions, I think. So just,
Why?
straight to the
Why do
point.
you say that?
You get straight to the point and everybody gets the answer that they want without having to dance around too much.
One of my favorite things about these yes or no questions is when somebody tells you, when you give them an answer, say yes, but I asked you a yes or no question, and then you realize that you have not answered their question properly.
No.
Well, with
but
that
I don't
being
think we'll have that problem here. So
no,
what have they said?
All right, so again, does the VR Cardinal LE support offline map browsing? And 75% of people said yes, and 25% of people said no.
So the majority is correct here. 75% of you were correct. And again, offline map browsing means that you are able to explore a map without needing to be walking around. You're not, and really the better word I should have used here is virtual map browsing. I probably didn't phrase this poll question properly because offline gives it the wrong kind of connotation. Virtual map browsing is really what this is, and we had referred to it internally a lot as offline map browsing because you're not, you're not walking around, you're not on connected to satellites, you're not moving about your day. You can explore not only an area while you are sitting on your couch that you might be going to tomorrow or in a few moments, but even as you're walking around, you can put yourself into this mode and virtually look at what might be ahead of you 2 or 3 blocks. Or maybe you stop and take a break and just want to look at some of the streets around you. So it is supported, and you use, kind of like you're playing a video game, you use your up, down, left, and right keys to move through your environment.
Awesome.
Okay, so very quickly, what I would like to do is I'm going to take over the screen share to everyone's chagrin. And what I'm going to do is share a graphic of the top face of the Cardinal. and I'm going to give a brief demonstration of moving through a couple of the things, the menus. Because I don't have a webcam, this isn't something that you will see my hands on, but I will show this image. So give me one moment, and I will also share my computer. There we go. Okay, I will share sound. And you will probably hear my jaws, but it's okay. Can you confirm that well, you probably hear that. Do you see that picture?
I do.
Yeah,
Wow. It's like
picture of
magic.
someone holding the victory there.
Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly turn my speech off.
Speech on demand.
All right, so that you won't hear Jaws start babbling away, just in case it does. Now, I am showing, again, the top, this is showing the cardinal, so somebody holding the cardinal. And we get a sense that, again, there across the top face, there are 3 uniquely shaped buttons. And when products are built, we like to give examples or kind of easy to use products from a menu driven standpoint, but also the buttons. We want you to easily feel the difference between these different types of buttons. So across the top, you have a square button above the number 1. That is your go-to key. We use it to go to a landmark or to go to a page in a book or go to a time in a podcast. That square key is go to. The circle key I talked about above the number 2 moves us between offline, online, and orientation. So if I press this button, which I will do now, you should hear, and hopefully this isn't way too loud.
Online bookshelves, podcasts, 0. Podcast feeds.
So
add podcast feed.
That would be my podcast. Again, it said online bookshelves. So I'm in my online mode, where now pressing the number 1 would move me through all of these online bookshelves. So if I press 1, I'm in podcasts right now. If I press 1 again,
Internet radio.
References,
podcasts,
and podcasts.
0.
Now,
podcast feeds. Add podcast feed.
What you hear is I have 3 bookshelves. You did not hear NLS Bard. You did not hear Bookshare. You did not hear NFB Newsline because they are not currently activated. To activate those or to put those services on, I am in my online bookshelves and I can press the 7 key to enter the menu. So again, that 7 key always brings us into our menus. And on the online bookshelves, when we first enter the menu, that is where we would find our wireless menu to connect to Wi-Fi. We can navigate up and down that menu with 2 and 8. To confirm or enter a selection, to activate what is in focus, we press our pound key, the key to the right of 0. And to cancel, we use our star key, which is the key to the left of 0. I'm going to press my 7 key and come into the menu just to quickly give you a sense of what this is.
Menu. Wireless. Import a network configuration from file.
Now, this is where you could import a network configuration. But again, this is my wireless menu. If I go down this menu,
scan for available connections.
I can scan for the networks that would be around me. And that is where I could easily connect to my Wi-Fi here at my house. If I press the 7 key again, I will enter different menus. So again, if I wanted to move up and down this menu, I would use 2 and 8. If I press the 6 key, you don't hear anything. It goes, dun, it gives you this tone, which is an error tone, or there is a nothing there tone, meaning that you can't go left and right in this menu. So if I wanted to activate this option that says scan for available networks, I would press confirm and it would bring me in there. And we'll do that in a moment because I do want to search. I want to show you how to enter text briefly, but more importantly, if I press the number 7 again, I will enter different menus. So if I press 7 again, I'll go into Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. Connect to Bluetooth device.
If I press 7 again.
General. Cancel all current downloads.
If I press 7 again.
Internet radio.
One more time.
Podcasts.
One more time.
NLS Bard. Add NLS Bard service.
This would be where I go to add my credentials, in this case for NLS Bard. Now I am going to press confirm, or the key to the right of 0 here, and show you a very brief way and a very brief overview of entering text.
Enter email address.
So at this point, it says I need to enter my email address. And we're all, for those of us who have done this in the past, we all will put our 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s hats on and talk about T9 text entry, which is you use the numbers on your keypad to enter text. And still to this day, you will hear people say, call 1-800 fishing fun or something, right? And I hope that's a real place, 1-800 fishing fun. But the point is, you will hear that to this day, they use this because numbers on the numeric keypad are associated with letters. And so starting with the number 2, the entire alphabet can be written in numerical with numerical keys. And think of in general terms, every key has 3 letters with the exceptions of the 7 key and the 9 key. 2 is ABC, 3 is DEF, 4 is GHI, and so on. 7 is PQRS, and 9 is WXYZ. So if I wanted to enter, if my email address is P as in Peter, I would press the number 7 key one time and it would say
P.
P. It would say, very excited, it would say P. And then we hear a click when the P is actually inserted. And there are a couple of methods for inserting text, but by default, this is how your device will behave. So I pressed the number 7 once and I wait for the click. And now I know that a P, as in Peter, has been inserted here. If I wanted to enter an R, again, it would be the number 7 again, but I would need to hit it 3 times. So if I hit 7 once, it'll say P,
P.
hit it again,
Q.
one more time,
R.
and then wait. And now we heard that click. There is a click that then tells me that the R has been entered. If I want to delete a character, I can press my rewind key, which is the left facing key at the very bottom row here to the left of your play button.
R.
And it will delete that R. If I press it again, it would delete the P. If I press and hold, it will delete everything and I get a tone. So I press and hold that rewind key, it will clear a text field. Now, if you've entered a couple of letters, so I'm quickly just going to type my name.
P. E.
Let's just say I put in a few different letters. Now, what I can do to hear what I've entered, let's just say I go like this.
N.
All right, so I've entered some letters and I wanted to write Peter, and I don't know what I've written. Have I put in a PETE? Did I accidentally push a different? What do I have in? Have I entered thus far? If you press your fast forward key,
Pen. P-E-T-N.
we hear that I've entered Petten, P-E-T-N. And I can say, oops, I don't want that on. I'm just going to delete that by pressing my rewind key. So again, pressing your right, your fast forward key will read the text that you've entered into a text entry field on the Cardinal. A couple of other things to note, and for this very brief demonstration, is if you want to quickly move between cases, so uppercase, lowercase, or if you want to enter a number, you can do that by pressing your bookmark or diamond shaped key when you're in a text field, which is located above the number 3. So as I do this,
uppercase,
there's my uppercase. Now if I enter a letter, it will be an uppercase letter. Let's just do that.
D.
I entered an uppercase D. Again, I'm going to press my diamond shaped key again.
numeric,
This would be numeric. So all my numbers are now, instead of doing letters, we'll do numbers. If I press it again,
lowercase,
back to lowercase. And again, I can read this by pressing what I've entered thus far by pressing my right arrow.
P-E-T uppercase D.
And we heard it this time say that I've entered D-E-T, and then it says that the D that I put in there was uppercase. So you can hear what you've written, case included, by pressing your right, your fast forward key, or the key to the right of your play button. Special symbols are located on the 1 or the 0, and this requires some memorization because there's lots of special symbols. How do you put in a $sign or a bracket, or if you have some crazy symbols in your Wi-Fi password, there are cheat sheets available, and I think in the appendix of the user guide and such, it's there. But you may find yourself looking for how to quickly enter the @ sign. At is 0 4 times. The period is the number 1 2 times. There are lots of these, and they can just go on and on and on. But you are able to enter text using the numeric keypad. I have been at Humanware for 10 years, and I've been a Stream and a Victor Reader user for almost 20 years. And as many folks as I have worked with and will continue to work with, who at first struggle with this text entry, but within a matter of days to weeks, are very fluid and are, for the first time in their lives, since they've been newer to vision loss or now are able to search for and download books and magazines and all these things they've wanted. This text entry method seems a bit daunting. It is very, and can be very natural once you start doing it. It is not a ton to get used to. And Matthew, I know that, you're the product manager. You see this a lot.
I was in technical support myself, and when I first, opened up my box and started playing with it and everything, that to enter my email address would take me like 2 minutes, and then towards the end, it would take me like 15 seconds. So yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve, but it's not that steep.
You know how they have those like Excel-a-thons where people come in and make like
Oh yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
We should do that we should have people like write
Yes.
books on their streams and so you can write faster.
Some of my colleagues at tech support are quite impressive, I'll say.
I've tried to go like as fast as humanly possible. Try to do like 35 or 40 words a minute.
Yeah.
And it can be done, but it's funny. It does, the more you do it, the more you kind of find yourself searching for podcasts and radio stations and books and typing in these different search terms, the more you just kind of get used to this sort of numeric letter association.
And just quickly at first, for people who you're still getting used to it, and there are also pre-populated lists. For example, when you go into NLS, there's a most popular list, which doesn't require you to enter text. You can just simply browse pre-made lists for you to download some content.
So with that brief but hopefully informative demonstration, I would like to thank Lee and Lydia and Amanda and Shelly and everyone who's helped with having this partner showcase. And we'd love to take some questions. But Amanda, is there anything else that you want to let people know before we kind of jump into the question space?
I'm wondering if Lee or Lydia has anything to share from kind of just the product engagement or product development standpoint from APH to share with some of our audience about this product or about future products similar to this.
Full speech.
I guess not. Nothing.
It's
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. I am dropping the link to the VR Cardinal
Lydia Smith to everyone.
.org in the chat right now, so you can purchase that from us with federal quota funds on our website.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And I know Lee was talking about in some of this that getting feedback for this product is really important and really great just to help us develop future orientation or navigation products for APH. So if you guys ever have any feedback, of course, you can send us an email. There's also a spot on our website where you can submit feedback about some of our products so that we can better serve you guys.
I'm going to go ahead and drop another link in the chat to our Get Involved page.
Lydia Smith to everyone.
Right now,
https://
we are running a survey, a research initiative called Focus on O&M. So on that page, there are a couple of different opportunities to give your feedback on O&M products
Escape.
to help inform our product development moving forward. So
I would like to say this is called the Cardinal LE, which stands for limited edition. So we have 1,000 of these devices to sell at APH, and that will be it. So once they're gone, this particular version will be gone, and hopefully our goal at APH is to, once these sell out, to receive as much feedback from our users as possible to help guide us in the next generation of a similar product for future in our roadmap. So all the feedback that you can provide would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. So
Awesome. Any questions that came in?
So Ashley asked a couple of questions. Her first question was, how much does it cost? And how many speech settings does it have?
So in terms of voices, the product, you can download different packages. There are 2 voices for each package. So there are two voices can be installed at a time, and those are determined by the package that you have installed. It's using right now by default it uses Sharon and Ryan, but there are French, there are Spanish, there are other localizations that could be that could work on the product as well. But you can switch between 2 active voices, and those are determined by the firmware that you have installed.
Awesome. And the price?
Regarding the price is $919, and it's available on our APH website right now.
Awesome. And the next question we have is, does it have the ability to print and emboss instructions wirelessly for those people who rather have written instructions for routes?
So that it does not, but that is a great, so I remember doing some presentations on how to get, you know, Braille instructions and whatnot. The instructions, the turn-by-turn instructions or the preview instructions are text. It is really, it's an auditory device. We have had a lot of interest over the years, and Matthew's definitely aware of this, on folks wanting a Braille display or a Braille type of interface with these audio products that Humanware has created over the years. So I will say stay tuned, right, Matthew? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's something that we
Absolutely.
certainly have gotten a lot of requests on. But in terms of instructions, there's no way to export those as a text file or something that could be off, you know, taken off the device.
All right. And I know we talked a little bit about offline mapping, but another question was, does it require Wi-Fi or cell data to access maps? And does the reading part support MP3, Wave, and Daisy?
So good questions. There's some no's in there. There's some yeses in there. In terms of, does it require Wi-Fi? It requires, the only time you would use Wi-Fi, and it's not required, but you would use Wi-Fi to update or download the maps that you would like. Once you're out and about, there is no data, there is no data connection required. No cellular, no data is required. It's talking directly to the satellites. In terms of the file formats, yes, Wave, MP3, and Daisy are all supported audio formats, in addition to others. But you don't even, you know, from the Wi-Fi side, you could offline install the maps you would like. You could also install firmware offline, so you don't have to have Wi-Fi. You could do those things over, you know, physical SD card installation. Yeah.
All right. And somebody wanted to know if this device has more navigation and options than the Trek, the VR Trek.
So from the navigation side, it's going to be the same sort of behavior in terms of what you're getting. So that GPS capability and the here maps and all of that will mirror that capability.
Okay, and they wanted to know as well, is the difference between this device and the Stellar Track the fact that the Stellar is just navigation and not MP3 and digital player?
Yeah, and also that the Stellar then has a lot of artificial intelligence built in as well. So the Stellar has a lot more GPS sort of you know, functionality in addition to the GPS that is not book reading, but is more at home sort of you know, daily life driver kind of stuff, whereas and has no book player. So whereas this device combines the GPS functionality and book player into one, the Stellar Trek has GPS with some various AI enhancements.
Awesome. And the last question that I have here is, how much does it weigh?
Yeah, actually, I'll take this one. I looked it up because I saw the question, so I cheated. So if I have any Canadian fellow people in here, it's 140 grams. But for my American friends, that's about 5 ounces.
This product does come with a little hook on the back that you could use a lanyard to hold it and wear it around your neck, and there's also a belt clip that is made into the actual case of the device. So that might help you if you want to carry it around your neck, if you wanted to strap it to your belt loop or your belt itself.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. And did I hear that the device also comes with some headphones this time around too?
It has some, there is wired headphones in the box.
Awesome. So you guys can listen to all the navigation instructions and not have to buy an extra piece of equipment.
Heck yeah. Or your favorite podcast about getting those gophers out of your tomato garden.
There you go.
Exactly. Gophers. I haven't seen gophers in a good while, so forgot they exist.
So here we have I will say my father is from Europe and calls them munchkins for whatever reason. I think he doesn't, they're called chipmunks in our gardens when I was a kid, but he'd be like, those munchkins, and I always laugh. So if you want to think of another term for a chipmunk, call it a munchkin, and people will think you're talking about the donuts,
The
but
donuts,
you're not. You're talking about a chipmunk. So on that note, I hope everyone absolutely has a fantastic day, and we always appreciate doing these partner showcases. Certainly not our first. Certainly, I would hope would not be our last, unless we've made some enemies here with our APH friends. But it's always fun to do, and we appreciate everyone's time. And thanks to you, Amanda and Lee, and to Lydia and everybody at APH for hosting these partner showcases. And we're excited for the Cardinal.
Awesome.
Thanks, Peter.
Well,
Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you both.
so much. Matthew, Peter, Lydia, and Lee. And thanks for everybody that joined. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and wonderful rest of your week. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.
Rock and
Thank you
roll,
so
everybody.
much.